Did you know that your cats chew on your plants because they don't have access to the grass that they need? Hi, I'm Sandy and welcome to the Garden Guru's Garden Revolution. Here's what we have in store for you today. Margaret shows you how to choose a healthy orchid at the store. Christopher gives you a tour of a whimsical edible garden. And I will introduce different varieties of Saladinella and how to care for them.
If you're wondering what kind of plants would work best in your balcony, there are several things to consider. How much space do you have? How much sun exposure does your balcony get? And how much effort do you want to put into maintaining your greenery? And just because you have a small balcony, don't let that stop you from creating your own mini garden of Eden. Who says you can't grow a lot of plants in a small balcony garden? Here we have such a variety of edible plants. Let me just bring you through. Right here, there's a variety of kales. You have over there the purple Japanese flying kale, your curly kale, your black Tuscan kale, and behind me, a flowering beefsteak tomato. Over here, a lemon plant. In front of me is a very cute dwarf tomato. Look at that, the fruits are coming out. And then there's this. This here is lavender. And another unusual herb here is called sage. So as you can see, there are a variety of edible plants and herbs that you can grow, so don't be discouraged by the size of your balcony. This balcony garden has raspberries, blackberries, finger limes and chilies, saving the garden owner a trip to the supermarket. Herbs are brilliant plants for balconies. Not only can you enjoy fresh, aromatic pickings, but most herbs remain relatively small, so are well suited to pots or containers. For sunny balconies, try growing basil, mint, dill, rosemary or thyme. Climbing plants make an effective wall decoration, and it also allows the balcony to become a private space. And here in front of me is Quisqualis indica, also known as the Rangoon creeper. It's known for its fragrant flowers. As the flower bud unfolds, it turns pink and slowly becomes this magnificent red. Another interesting plant that you can consider for your balcony are succulents. And here in my palm are two beautiful, cute little baby ice plants. They are in fact succulents. A lot of people think that you can't grow this in Singapore because of our hot, humid weather. Don't be fooled. We have here two living plants. What you need is to make sure that they are given only morning sun before 10 AM and they would grow up just like this, beautiful and cute. And there you have it. You can grow a variety of plants, edibles, ornamentals, herbs, flowerings, fruiting plants. There are so many choices for you. Don't be discouraged and don't be limited by the size of your balcony.
When it comes to garden centres, this is one of the most iconic you'll find in Singapore. On Thompson Road, East Flora is a family business supplying Singapore with beautiful plants and essential garden products. Plants bring you good health, but many believe the right plants will also bring wealth. So here is some of my must-have indoor plants. Look at this. Now, this is a very auspicious plant and one that's actually quite different. You see, this is known as the Chinese jade plant. This one's particularly special. It's got a beautiful little white variegation around the outside. Now, these are meant to bring happiness and wealth to the household if you place them near the front door. And when it comes to growing them, they're not hard to grow. In fact, they're quite easy. The trick is you don't overwater them. They only need a cup of water once a week to look fantastic. If you want to win the lottery, you probably should add this one to your collection. It's the lucky bamboo. It's always a beautiful indoor plant if grown in soil, but often they're grown in water, and one trick you need to remember is to give them food, which can be done with a small amount of liquid fertiliser crystals dissolved into the water and then added every 2 to 3 weeks. This will see your lucky bamboo grow happily and that is likely to bring you more luck. Now, the next plant I want to show you is this one here. Now, it's known as the desert rose or the wealth plant, and it's absolutely stunning. It has these beautiful big tubular flowers, and they come in all sorts of different colours, usually bright oranges and reds, even pinks. One of the things you have to make sure you never do is overwater it. It's just a cup of water, maybe once or twice a week. If they get too much water, you'll see this happen. They'll start to drop their leaves. So if you look at the plant, it'll tell you what it needs. And why is it called the wealth plant? We can see these big bulbous kind of roots that are down the bottom here. They're storing energy in from the leaves and putting it down there. You see, that's its energy bank. It's wealth. If you're thinking about creating a really auspicious entry point to your house, then look at getting a large pot and picking a couple of very special plants and bringing them together in a combination planting. Now, we all know citrus. Citrus can be very, very important, particularly in and around Chinese New Year. Not all citrus are suitable. You can get calamondins and you can get these things called kumquats. This is the Nagami kumquat. Produces lots and lots of delicious fruit, but most importantly, it always looks amazing. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to pop that in here and then bring in a second plant that is equally auspicious, that's very good for health, very good for wealth, and it's meant to bring happiness. And it's this one down here. Take a look at these. These are what they call neogilias. Now, I'm going to put them in around the bottom, and they're kind of like a little pineapple. They'll be beautiful, they'll look fantastic, the kumquat will come out of the top, and the whole thing will be an amazing entry statement. Most importantly, it should bring you a real sense of potential wealth, health, and definitely happiness. Isn't it time you brought plants into your life and good fortune to your family and all who visit you?
Coming up next.
Picking a healthy orchid is important, even if the plant is meant as a gift or as a tabletop display. You want beautiful flowers, but there are some other more important factors to consider. Popular around the globe for their beauty and variety, orchids are the largest family of plants in the entire world. There are around 30,000 different species of orchid, at least 10,000 of which can be found in the tropics. Orchid species can differ greatly from one another, with extreme variation in size, weight, and color. While there are hundreds of orchid species to choose from, the most commonly sold ones are Phalaenopsis and Dendrobium. They all have similar physical characteristics: tall, curving stems or flower spikes, large, waxy leaves to prevent water loss, and colorful, unusual blooms. Picking a healthy orchid is important, even if the plant is meant as a gift or as a tabletop display. You want beautiful flowers, but there are some other more important factors to consider. The roots are a visible indicator of the health of an orchid. They should be the first thing you check at the nursery. Healthy roots are plump to the touch and green or white in color, whereas brown, mushy roots indicate overwatering. If an orchid's top leaves are a bright, vibrant green, but the bottom leaf is yellowing, this is normal. Over time, mature leaves die off, so newer leaves can take their place. However, if all or most of the leaves are yellowing, the plant is likely dehydrated or is being overwatered. Ideally, you should look for orchids bursting with beautiful blooms. The flowers should be healthy looking and firmly attached to the spike. Take a couple of extra minutes to try to find one with the extra buds growing on it. This means more flowers are just around the corner. Once you bring your Phalaenopsis orchid home, place it in a spot with bright indirect light, as direct sunlight can harm its delicate leaves. Water your orchid regularly, but be mindful not to overwater, as it can lead to root rot. Proper air circulation is crucial for Phalaenopsis orchids. It helps prevent fungal and bacterial diseases. Put your orchids in a location with enough airflow, but avoid windy areas. Spectacular on their own, Phalaenopsis orchids easily creates an instant arrangement when placed in a simple pot like this. They also combine beautifully with foliage to create contrast. A gift of orchid is always appreciated, adding instant charm to any occasion. They are also a great everyday flower, long-lasting, affordable, and easy to maintain. So now you know how to select a healthy orchid at the store. Go get one today.
There are some plants that thrive really well in our climate, such as this Thai basil and wild pepper leaf. They have really punchy flavours, and they're also very suitable for our native soil, requiring very little maintenance and care. Welcome to Nutopia Community Garden. It's a garden that represents me and my childlike curiosity. It's a very whimsical garden. You can tell that there are lots of different props, like the bicycles, lots of different colours of plants and flowers. And we're growing not just traditional plants, but also some very unique plants that have never been grown before in Singapore, like blueberries. So I really love blueberries, but they're always so expensive to buy from the market. So I decided to grow my own. This is my first time growing them, and I hear that they like acidic soil and also well-draining soil. So that's the environment that I provided them with. And I've also put a huge amount of wood chip mulch to prevent evaporation. So these are the leaves of the asparagus plant. And we're very lucky today that we have one asparagus sprig. Though it has taken more than a year to get this asparagus, now it's going to start producing this asparagus sprigs for a long, long time. And the best part of it is it really tastes very sweet when I harvest it fresh. And it is so tender, unlike some of the thick ones you get in the supermarkets. This is the wild pepper plant. It's a very, very common plant that you find in landscapes all around Singapore. So what I like about them is that even though they have a slight peppery taste, they're very mild and slightly sweet. So I can also pair it up and include them into my salad. And it just gives you that nice kick and nice little body to that salad. This is the wild watercress. It's an extremely resilient plant. It even likes the tropical hard soil that you find in Singapore. It's a plant that you can grow at home very easily, and you'll survive in almost all conditions. Now what about its taste? It's quite earthy and nutty, and it has a very crunchy texture. The amazing thing about this plant is that it keeps on giving, and you'll never have a shortage of this plant ever again. So I'm just harvesting the lettuces here. You can hear them crunch and just break off. But they'll continue growing their new shoots, you can see right at the top here. So over here I have 12 different varieties of cherry tomatoes. They include varieties such as the sugar lump or Metz cherry tomatoes. And they're all heat tolerant. And these tomatoes will get me beautiful cherry tomatoes that are very suitable for the tropical heat. Some of them have not succeeded, some of them have gotten some bacteria or fungal issues, but most of them have survived. So after struggling to grow tomatoes for many years, I finally succeeded. Radishes are one of my favorite things to grow. They're really, really, really cute when they peek out of the soil. Over here, I have a French radish varietal. They're red at the top and they have a little white bottom. The beautiful thing about this radish is its very tender leaves that I can eat on its own as part of a salad. And the radish itself is actually very tasty, and I can just eat it raw just like that. And it's so good. So it's a very fast growing crop. You can grow this at home very easily, and it only takes about 30 days from seed to harvest. I like to have some fun, and I want to try to grow things that are more uncommon. Some of these plants are harder to manage and require more specialized conditions, such as having shelter from rain. We've come a long way since we first started Nutopia on top of this multi-storey car park in Serangoon North. We've spent a lot of effort to build fertility on this garden. We've also made our lives much easier by installing automatic irrigation that comes on every day. This is the life. This is why I do what I do. There's just so much satisfaction in growing your own produce and seeing it on a plate in front of you. And this journey never ends. I'm always on the lookout for improving the different flavors and the different varietals. And I get so much satisfaction from growing my own food. So this garden is meant to inspire people, and I hope that everyone can come and visit and get ideas so that you can start your own edible garden at home.
There are ferns and there are fern allies. What they have in common is that they are non-flowering and produce spores instead of seeds. Saladinellas are fern allies, also known as spike moss or club moss, but they are neither ferns nor mosses. They are understory plants that are found mainly in tropical regions. There are over 700 species of Saladinellas, and some of them make great house plants and terrarium plants. They prefer a more acidic potting mix that is moist but not soggy. I grow mine in a potting mix that is mostly made up of cocoa peat and granules for better aeration. And this also makes the media more well-draining. Saladinellas are best grown in bright shade or semi-shade. They also prefer high humidity, so avoid placing them in windy areas. You can water your Saladinellas 2 to 3 times a week. We grow ours outdoors in the rain and under filtered sunlight. And you can tell that they're loving it. They're growing wild over this section here. I have several species of Saladinellas to show you today. And let's start off with the very popular and eye-catching one, Saladinella wildernoii, which is also known as the blue peacock fern. Found in Peninsular Malaysia and Thailand, it has become a popular plant among hobbyists. This is best grown in semi-shade. When exposed to too much direct sun, the leaf tips turn reddish and lose their blue iridescence. The next Saladinella holds a little surprise. It's got dark green leaves on top, but when you look underneath, it's got these striking red undersides. It's called Saladinella erythropus, also known as red coral or ruby red Saladinella. Lastly, we have an interesting Saladinella that's native to China, India, Japan, Korea, and Thailand. The stem and roots tangle together to form a trunk-like structure that makes it look like a miniature tree fern or bonsai. This is Saladinella tamaricina, commonly known as white-tip spike moss. When not watered sufficiently, the leaf tips will roll up. And that's a good indication that it's time to water your plant. Whether you grow them outdoors, indoors, or in a terrarium, you can be sure that Saladinellas will make a great addition to your plant collection. Just be sure to give them the right conditions, like bright shade and humidity. So when are you going to get one to add to your collection?
Coming up next,
When you come back from your holidays, the last thing you want to see is a plant that looks like this.
One of the most remarkable places to spend time in Singapore is the largest conservatory, the simply spectacular Flower Dome. It houses a diverse collection of flowering plants from around the world, and what strikes you as amazing when you first enter is the environment. The magic of this conservatory is the temperature, the conditions that it's able to recreate. Now you'll see all the plants here, they would never survive in Singapore under normal circumstances. We have recreated the Mediterranean conditions. It's a dry, well, quite warm microclimate, but it never gets too hot, never gets too cold, and the plants here are in perpetual spring all year round. The environment here allows for plants endemic to regions such as South Africa, California, Spain and Italy to thrive. At certain times of the year, you'll find displays of flowers from much cooler climates, like rose species, thriving in this remarkable conservatory. For me, it's the really incredible species like succulents and cacti. So many amazing plants that come from vastly differing areas across the globe, all with unique growth habits and adaptations to grow in their unique climates and environments. Two of my favourite trees in the collection here that are related are these guys. This is the boab tree from Australia, Adansonia gregori. Over here from Africa and Madagascar, Adansonia digitata, the baobab. Now they're related, and of course the commonality is they have the ability to store water in their trunks, which allows them to sustain themselves for long periods of time, periods of drought or dry summers. And it's just a good example of the diversity of plants you find here in the Flower Dome. The Flower Dome is a remarkable piece of architecture. It covers some 1.2 hectares of area, reaching a height of 38 metres, and it's won many awards for its stunning design. Visually, it's captivating and a must-have experience for anyone who loves nature, are plant enthusiasts, or are interested in rare, unusual, or highly collectible plants. But for me, it's the diversity of species shown here The collection, well, there's few places on the planet where you could compare species from vastly different locations that share the same climatic conditions and needs and can be seen growing right alongside each other. Now, I finished my time here in the Flower Dome at Gardens by the Bay with a really incredible story. You see, these plants here are not really flowers as such. They do produce flowers and they do produce fruit. But for 1,000 years, many of these trees around the outside of me lived in Spain. They are, of course, olive trees. And they were dug up and transported and are thriving here in the Flower Dome. It's a remarkable story. It's an incredible example of the collection of plants you'll get to see here.
No matter how long you go on your holidays, there are always methods to keep your plants healthy until you return. All these methods can be used using just recycled materials, so it won't break the bank. There are, of course, other things that you can do, which cost you a little bit of money. When you come back from your holidays, the last thing you want to see is a plant that looks like this. This is still salvageable. You need to cut up all the yellow ones and then give it love and tender, and the chances it will come back alive. Here, you got a little more extreme. This one's definitely gone. Here, you've got a little chance of survival here. And lastly, this is a gone case. There's nothing you can do to save this. So if you don't want the plants to look like this, let me give you 3 self-watering tips that's gonna make your next holiday a little more enjoyable. When you have potted plant, you need to have a wick system. So the wick system I use are these little strings or anything that's cotton, an old t-shirt, an old towel, just shred it down. For this example, I'm taking one of these from these broken wine bags and basically cut it off, and what you have is a piece of string like this. Because it is cotton, it will soak up the water. Get a chopstick, kind of put a little angle in there, tighten it, and then you're going to push it right inside from the bottom. There you have it. So this is your wick system. Water will draw and go into the plants. Now, to make your container, this is a leftover curry fish head container. Using a soldering iron. Why do I use soldering iron? Because when you drill it, this will crack. When you cut it, this will crack. So by putting a little hole in there, you'll see it melts. It starts smoking. And we just move it along. So I'm going to show you a pot that already has a plant in it. This is all done. You see the wick system in there? The plant's there. Base is going to draw its own water, and this container will last about 30 days depending on where you have it located. When there's a lot of sun, of course it dries up a lot more. So the idea of doing DIY is use whatever you have. So you can use a regular pot, full of water. You've got the wick, you got the plant, and here I've got another self-watering system using your own pots and pans that you won't be using anyway. Before you do any of these self-watering systems, make sure that your plants are well soaked. This has to be done 2 or 3 days prior because it allows the plants to soak up all the necessary water. And then your other self-watering system is the supplement to help it grow. Of course, there's another alternative. You can always hire a plant sitter or get some of your friends to help you out while you're away. When you do come back, make sure you take good care of your friends because they're taking good care of your plants.
This is Amorphophallus konjac, and I bought the edible tuber from the market 4 weeks ago. Look how much it's grown. I wish I had the same growth genes. Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. We hope you've enjoyed the hints, tips, and garden trivia. Be sure to check out our website and social media pages for more information. Till next time.